We are so excited that you're here. My name is Shaylin Reel, and I am joined by Anna Chiriani Dean, and we are the co-hosts and co-creators of the Teacher Think-Aloud podcast, your podcast for reflective practice for teachers of English around the world. And if you're here, odds are you know that already, so I didn't have to tell you that. But
Why
I'm all
would you be here
jazzed up.
otherwise?
Yeah, right. They're like, who are these strangers?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
we're celebrating 5 years of the Teacher Think-Aloud podcast right now.
Yes.
It's really wild to say out loud, isn't it?
Yes. 5 years ago, started this during the pandemic. Like everybody else, we decided to start a podcast during the pandemic. How original.
Yes.
And, we had both been wanting to start the podcast on separate occasions. And then eventually it just kind of happened. We were out on a hike in the middle of the woods in the middle of winter, because that's when we were in the same place at the same time. We are rarely in the same place at the same time, unfortunately. Yeah. And then I popped the question, I think, and then
I enthusiastically accepted.
Yes. And I said, will you start a podcast with me, Shay?
Yeah.
And somehow 5 years later, we're still here. We're still thinking out loud together. We're still learning from each other and our fabulous guests and our community of international listeners.
Yes. So, we've got a lot to share from our experience over the last 5 years. This project, has been our passion project that we've been working on together as professionals, but we also have, I'd say fairly successfully, Anna, maintained a very strong friendship throughout these 5 years. And we've talked before about how maybe the podcast has actually kept our friendship alive, because we are often, as you said, in different corners of the world. So today we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit, so to speak. We're going to talk about how this journey has really felt for us. We're going to talk about, the good times, the messy times, some things that we've never talked about on episodes. We do try to kind of keep it PG. 13, I'd say. So if you have any questions for us, we'd love for you to post them on LinkedIn. It does, I guess, connect to StreamYard. Very cool. Now that we're fully connected. So let us know what you want to know about this thing that we're doing together.
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout this, please ask us anything. We are going to answer as many questions as you can. So please feel free to drop them in the chat. And we do have some questions that we're going to be throwing to each other in case you're kind of shy. You don't want to ask the question just yet.
Yes. Anya and Joe, if you two are shy and you don't want to ask us questions.
Right. Exactly. Yes. But we're open to all questions. So I think I'm going to kick us off with kind of, an easy question, or maybe not so easy question. I feel like it's not that easy. It's never that easy. So
I have an icebreaker for you.
No. Jay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have to start with an icebreaker, right? Okay. So I just dreamed this up as I was prepping here before the panic set in. So I would love to know, Anna.
Oh gosh.
You ready?
I don't know what the question is, you guys.
I know. She doesn't. What is one thing that you always do before you sit down to podcast with me?
Oh, I mean, immediately goes to get a beverage.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Before I sit down to podcast with you, you're saying yes.
Yes. How do you get ready to podcast?
I get water.
That's smart. Oh, good.
Very important.
Good demo.
I've also had very dry throat from all the stress. But I get water. I get tea. Usually it's not coffee anymore, because we usually meet in the afternoons. There's Shay's thematic tea. It matches all of the branding of this event. Well done.
Matches my couch. Yeah,
yes, perfect. So that's what I do. Normally I'm transitioning from work, so I just need to get up and turn myself around in my kitchen and get into the seat here. So
you're so good. You're such a superwoman.
Yeah. How about you, Shay? What do you do?
Well, I wonder if you already know this about me. I think you might. It's something kind of quirky that I do before I sit down to do not just podcasts, but to do some sort of deep work. Anytime that I'm getting into creative thinking, I light incense. And I
Oh,
know that reminds
I
you of high school. You loved incense in high school, right? And you kind of
I
make fun of
did.
me a bit.
I had like an incense holder fairy collection in high
Oh,
school.
nice. Yeah.
Yes, it's a thing of the past, but I did know that about you with the incense, and it makes so much sense for who you are.
Do you know that I was named after a fairy?
That makes sense too,
There you go.
Shaylin.
The Shea
Yeah.
Fairy. The Shea Fairy is known for
Mhm.
being mischievous and curious. So
It's very
yeah,
accurate.
aptly named. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Mom. I told my
Yeah.
dad to watch. Well, I don't know if he's here. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so that
Glad
was
you
my
like that
first
question,
surprise.
Joe.
That was
Yeah.
my surprise to you, Anna. So now back to, previously programmed
The previously
questions.
programmed stuff that I feel
Yes.
comfortable with. Okay.
Go on.
So, so
Yeah.
Shay,
Hmm.
what was your first impression of me when we first met? This is just a tough one. Cheers, Anya.
No, it's not tough. I was intimidated by you. So I the first time I saw you, we were in a faculty meeting. We were both adjunct professors at Fordham's Institute of American Language and Culture in New York City.
Mhm.
And it was my first job in New York. So I had moved there about 6 months before. I was like, kind of like, what do I want to do in this city? And I always end up teaching. It's just who I am. So I was sitting, I walked into this room and I surveyed the room, and there were all of these very seemingly serious people, but I think it's, my perception as like kind of a country bumpkin moving to New York City. Everyone in Manhattan seemed like serious and like severe to me. Well, I thought you were very intimidating. You were really poised and so articulate. You were doing you were leading some assessment initiatives at Fordham at that time. And so you were talking about that. And I was like, man, I want to be like her, like I thought of you as like the exact opposite of how I see myself, which is just kind of like fumbly and like, country bumpkin. So that was like my very first impression of you.
Yeah.
And I'll pause there and I'm going to throw the question back to you, because I think then we can talk about our love story a little bit more.
Well, yeah. I mean, you used the exact word that I wrote down in my notes, which is intimidated. I was so intimidated by you. So like, I mean, and also, first of all, just to clear the room here, like you are by no means a country bumpkin. My goodness. What fantasy do you live in? But I mean, I also have this like, first time we met, we had this meeting story at this faculty meeting at Fordham University. And I mean, before intimidated, I think the word I would use is magnetic.
Oh, wow.
So when I saw you, you had that gorgeous floral dress skirt on that you've worn many times since
it has many holes in it now. It's pretty much like rags, unfortunately.
This was a while ago. It's like 8 years ago.
8 years.
So that skirt has seen a lot, but you had this magnetic presence and personality. And then I knew I just needed to meet you and talk to you and be friends with you. And so I asked you on our first date, right?
Yes.
And we went to actually what was my first date with my husband. I took you to the same place.
I wrote that in my notes too. I needed people to know that. Yes.
That's the importance that you hold in my life.
I
took you there, and I remember you were telling me about all of your accomplishments. You had just gotten back from Argentina. And you had, been the director of an English, like an intensive English program at Rhode Island, in Rhode Island. And I was just like, how have you accomplished this much? You must be so much older than me. And then I remember you and I were sizing each other up.
Oh, for sure. Like, how many languages do you speak?
And how old are you? And then we were like the same age almost. You got a 6
You're
month
younger. You're younger than me. Yeah.
But it's pretty close. And so I was so intimidated, but then it just blossomed into this lovely friendship and, partnership that was not just a podcast, but just we had a partnership as teachers as well, which is what led to the podcast, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we would run into each other. We'd sit down and chat in the teacher's room and just share. We were both teaching first year writing, college writing
Mhm.
at the time, and just kind of like, how are you working through this? And that's
Mhm.
when I learned of your love for grammar, and you learned of my hatred for grammar. No, I'm just kidding. Not hatred, just distaste, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
But, it was a friendship and a partnership that blossomed so quickly. And I
Mhm.
remember just feeling like this doesn't happen all the time. And how lucky am I that this person wants to sit down and spend time with me? And we actually, not too long after that, we ended up in your living room in your apartment in New York, and we were belting karaoke songs to each other. Like we were the sole audience for the other.
Serenading each other. Like,
Yes. But so I think we've always, we have lots of similar interests and
mhm.
passions. And I love how aligned we are professionally and personally. Um,
Mhm.
well,
But welcome to the Shay and Anna Love Fest. If that's
yeah,
what this is, there's no
yes,
hiding that.
yes.
But I think I adore this woman. I hope everyone loves her as much as I do. Um,
I don't. That's too much pressure. I don't want
yeah.
that many people to love me.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Okay.
keep it small. Okay, don't
Yeah.
love me too much. Well,
Well,
so
no,
yeah.
thinking of the podcast,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
Like speed forward from the love story to the creation of the podcast,
3 years after we met, right? It was, well,
3 years.
2 years, about 2 years after we met.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that long
Ish.
in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, but
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, what the hardest skill has been for you to learn as a podcaster.
Fun. Yes, this is a fun question. And so that I use self-deprecation and people start to worry about me, but they don't have to worry. It's just my sense of humor. So I often call myself, master of none, right? Like I
Mhm.
love to tinker. I am very much a generalist in my profession. So I am a tinkerer and I am a master of none. So I don't love the word like master. Like what if you mastered like nothing? I'm getting by. But I think the hardest so far for podcasting has been video editing. So this is a
Mm.
relatively new skill that I'm working on. Um, it's one that I never had any interest in doing. Like from the very beginning, I told you, like, Anna, I don't know how to edit videos. I don't think I care to know, but now I'm happy to know how to edit videos, of course. But I think there's been a long line of things in the podcast that I never thought that I would master, right?
Mm.
Like social media, I haven't mastered
You're
it.
like,
Like I
Anna, you
I
go do that.
outsource that to you.
Yeah.
Yes, because everyone, like, it's embarrassing. It takes me like 30 minutes to post a single story to Instagram, and like that's not an exaggeration. So I don't know that I've mastered anything, but I'm really delighted to see these new skill sets that I never imagined I would have
Yeah.
come to fruition. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
What about you?
I mean, that's great that you're really curious about the video podcast too, because
Mhm.
I mean, you've been just expanding your skills over time. Like we've changed kind of the arrangement of how we do work with each other, and over
Mhm.
time, we've each had a chance to kind of work on something different and learn something new. So
Mhm.
it's nice to hear that you're excited about video podcasts, video episodes. When I was thinking about this question,
Yeah.
I couldn't think of like a skill that
Mhm.
a concrete skill so much because there's the marketing that's really hard, writing
Yeah.
short scripts that's really hard,
Mhm.
interviewing is a big skill that both you and I've gotten a lot better at.
Yes. Yes.
Making money is
Yeah.
another skill, but I
We're
the one
still not that great. Yeah.
we're not very good at that one, but the skill that really has been, I think, really has come full circle for me in the past year especially, is letting go of 100% perfection. I
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Listen,
Mhm.
listen, you've sent me a couple of WhatsApp messages
Mhm.
recently for
Mhm.
typos
Mhm.
on social media posts.
I'm catching those typos,
You
which is
caught my
pretty
typos?
crazy. Yeah.
And I have had to tell myself, I'm just not going to respond to that because, like, I'm
Right.
just post, not perfect or whatever. There's some
That's
kind of
fine.
saying, like, post the thing, get it
Mhm.
done. I have short increments of time to work with.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and the typos were not like the title. So I feel
Right.
okay with those. So
It's
that's
totally
like
okay.
just an example, but like, I think that I've gotten better at just kind of letting things go a little bit more,
I
which
love
is,
that.
which is hard for you and me because that's not our strong suit at all.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, so as I was reflecting on that question, I'm really glad that you were bringing this up. I've noticed that change in you, and I'm really proud of you. I hope you don't feel like I'm, trying to make you feel bad when I catch those typos, because I'm like, I know your life, I know how busy you are, and I'm like, oh, I should, maybe I shouldn't say anything, but like, I want you to know that I'm aware, I'm paying attention on it, because you do so much on the back end of this podcast. Like, we wouldn't exist if it weren't for you.
You're sweet. Same for
Well,
you. Yeah.
well,
You do
well.
all of the the podcast episodes right now. So
Well.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so this idea of letting go of perfectionism, we've both called ourselves recovering perfectionists on previous episodes. That is something we've let kind of bleed into, our audience's knowledge. But as I was thinking about the previous question about, mastering skills, something for me that came up was the same, letting go of perfectionism. And I'm reading a book right now, and I'll let people know about it later. But I think about how we can't control the audience perception of the work that we're doing. We can only control our output, and we have constraints. We have parameters. We have lives outside of the podcast that prevent us from operating at 100% every day, right? We have to turn the dial down sometimes.
Yeah.
So this whole releasing a bit of control, being in like a public forum, essentially, is really challenging. But I'm proud of the work that we've done separately and together on that front. I think it allows us to do more and to show up more authentically, right? Like, this live is a great example of that, right? We're not scripted. People are seeing, well, how much we love each other and sort of our goofier sides that they don't hear so much in our episodes, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the goofy side does come across in our episodes a bit.
Well,
we have a couple of good questions that came through while we were blabbing about this.
Great.
So I'm going to bring up, I think I can show this on the screen, Joe's comment. So
who's that handsome guy?
Oh my goodness.
Kidding, that's my
Joe
partner.
Voight. How has making the podcast changed how you communicate? So much listening, editing, evaluating, reflecting, that must have an impact on how you relate to others. I was going to say each other also, but yeah. Any response to that, Shay? Yeah.
Man, it's a big question.
Well, we wouldn't expect any different from Joe.
Right, from Joe. I know. And of course, it's going to be about listening, because that's Joe's thing, all about active listening, right? Well, I think that this podcast has, just to sort of venture my first reflection, I think it's made me a better listener. I think I've become more attuned to people, the guests that we interview, but also you. I've tried to, I guess, learn to sort of sift through fluff, I guess, more in what people are communicating. And I've also, I guess, become more of a trust. I've started to believe that people are trustworthy as interlocutors. Like, let me try to explain this a little more. Because I'm able to sift through what people are sharing with me and like get to the meat of, what they're trying to communicate, I trust that others are able to do the same with me, even if I am a bit wordy sometimes, right? Like, this answer is a perfect example of that. So I think that there's just become more trust in the communications that I have with both you and also, the strangers that I, and colleagues that I bring on for this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're saying that, thanks for starting us off with that answer.
That was a hard one.
Good answer. It's a really good answer to that question. I think along the lines of what you're saying, like I can kind of see when I'm listening to what people are saying, I can kind of see the narrative, like the overarching narrative in a way. With the podcast episodes, you're always, in an interview, you're listening, you're in the moment, you're trying to, ask the right questions at the right time to allow that space for everybody to really shine. But while you're doing that, in the back of your head, you're thinking like, oh, what's the narrative here? How does this all fit together? Right. So you're starting to kind of see how all of that fits together. And you start prompting people once you see the narrative, you start prompting people to complete the narrative or to like extend the narrative in a certain direction. It just kind of starts, you're thinking about the big picture and the message that they're getting across. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's almost like, you're in a courtroom and you're a lawyer and you're like leading someone. Like we do a little bit of like shepherding in our conversations. And sometimes the flock is like, yes, I'm going to follow you, shepherd. And other times you have a sheep who's just like, I'm over on this grassy knoll, right? Like I don't want a part of this flock.
And we want our guests to shine. So
yes.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that I could add here is just that I've always believed that everyone is, an expert in something, even if maybe they don't call themselves an expert. I believe that everyone, and especially the people we bring on our show, have something really incredible to share with the world. And I just see it as my duty to support them in their sharing.
Yeah. I love that. We also have another question from Anya, but were you trying to take us in a different direction, Shay?
Yeah, Anya, I'm going to come back to Anya.
Okay.
And I think she won't be too mad at me for this, but I just want to kind of Joe's question about, how we're relating to others. I just want to touch upon how we relate to each other. And I think maybe how our friendship has evolved and how it's survived with the podcast existing. I remember very early on, when we started, everything that we were communicating was on WhatsApp. And, you would write to me, and of course, being in different time zones, your message would come to me as maybe I'm laying in bed or I'm trying to wind down for the night because you're on Pacific time, right? And I would open your message thinking it was a friend communication, like, oh, what's Anna up to, right? And then I'd see something podcast related. And because of my brain, I can't just be like, oh, I'll think about this tomorrow. Instead, I'm like, oh, I should probably get up right now. If she's writing me, it's urgent. So really, and I think vice versa as well. Yeah. The podcast was bleeding into our friendship communications. And so we ultimately decided to isolate podcast stuff into a WhatsApp group called Podcast Bitches, actually, which is like a running joke. Now you all know Podcast Bitches. For whatever reason, that became.
I was not expecting you to reveal that, but hey, here it is, everybody. Yes.
Yeah, that's who we are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that question of communicating with each other, yes, finding that distinction between our friendship and our professional work has been really important. And I mean, one of the questions we had that we wanted to talk about here was, what are you most proud of, what you've learned through podcasting? And my answer to that would be learning to work with my best friend. Because it really, if you think about it, everybody, that's a huge feat to be able to work with your best friend and not constantly, and not erode your friendship, as you were saying, Shay. And I think one of the things for me that's been really important outside of just splitting up the channels through which we communicate has been kind of, I'm going to use, I guess, this kind of cliched actor improv response of, it's been important to learn how to say yes and for me. I think I think it was very easy for me early on to be like, that's too much, like freeze up and say, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that. But over the years, I mean, Shay, you have so many great ideas. And so I've been, it's been great to kind of be able to say, yes, that's a fantastic idea because your ideas are all great. And how are we going to do that? And like, what would that look like? And what could we do in addition to that?
Yeah.
And then obviously like pushing back every now and then when it's a little too much, because sometimes we've got ambitious ideas.
I've got pretty big ideas. Yes. And you are, you are the person who follows through. Like you are the one who takes my abstract idea and like puts it into like bite-sized action items that we can actually make happen. And for that, I'm very grateful. But absolutely, that's really interesting. I love that you just brought in improv. I love improv. That's I think, something to go back to that question, what are you most proud of that you've learned through podcasting? My answer is the same, like being able to collaborate with my best friend and still like have you as my best friend, right? That's pretty cool. But also I'm really proud of like birthing this idea and like having it been, we had a thought baby, we had a thought baby in the woods that day, and like that baby's still alive. And that's really incredible. And like we have this listenership, smallish listenership. We're not massive, but like we've got listeners in like 80 plus countries. Never in my life did I imagine that I would be able to create something like this. And that follow through has always been hard for me. I've talked a little bit about, I think on episodes, that I have ADHD, and, it's been a real struggle, like imposter syndrome and, perfectionism. There are a lot of things like going on in my mind all the time. So just being able to follow through with something and to be able to do it so successfully with you is just, what's better than that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it hasn't always been perfect.
No, let's talk about the imperfect things now. I was just going to bring us there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people are like sick of this love fest, right? Tell us in the comments if you're sick of the love fest. The hate fest. Wow. Wow. This just got intense. Well, I'm really interested to hear from you about like a story about a disagreement or a small fight that we've had. And I wonder if it's going to be the same as the one instance that I was actually able to think of here.
I'm sure it is, because
really,
it's so ridiculous. And if it isn't great, then we'll have two stories to tell. But
okay. I'm scared now. I feel like it's not going to be the same.
Hot tub grammar.
That's an amazing story. That's a way better story. So maybe
I also have another story that's a little less funny, but
less fun. I think maybe that's the one. Go ahead.
But the hot tub grammar, we went on a girls' vacation, just the two of us. That was meant to be mainly just for us as friends, but also obviously some podcast stuff happened there. We rented this place. Was it Tucson?
No,
where did
Santa
we go?
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
No, Phoenix. No, Arizona. We were in Arizona. We were not in New Mexico.
Somewhere in the Midwest.
That's
Southwest.
Southwest. Okay. Southwest. Yes. Okay. So you found this great Airbnb with a saltwater pool.
Yeah.
And a hot tub, and we literally didn't leave that place the entire long weekend. We just suntanned and swam around and like just ate food, and maybe we went out once or twice, but we didn't really do much besides that. There was a hot tub.
Yes.
And we'd had a couple drinks, as one does on vacation. And we are sitting in the hot tub, and like, I don't know why it came up, Shay.
You probably brought it up. You love grammar. So you're like, I love grammar. I'm like, boo.
we got into a debate about
Mhm.
like grammar and like why it's important to teach it. And but your whole point was just like, I don't like teaching grammar. I'd rather teach something else. That was your whole point.
Kind of. Oh, are
Kind
we going
of,
to rehash
kind
this
of.
argument?
And then
Okay,
my
go
whole
on.
point was like, I'm simplifying, obviously. My whole point
Sure.
was I like teaching grammar because it like, it you can do so many things. Like I was thinking a lot like about like genre and like achieving different communicative tasks with grammar, right?
Sure.
Whatever. We
Well, that
just like
makes much more
have to
sense than what
we
I think you were saying to me at the
well,
time.
that's where the drinks came in.
Yeah, right.
I think we were just doing this and
Yes.
nobody knew.
We both care about grammar. I feel like we should
Yes,
like we both care about
absolutely.
grammar. We both have different relationships to it.
Yes.
I think my main point, without us rehashing the whole thing, was that I don't enjoy teaching grammar explicitly. Like that is not something that I ever am like, oh, I want to do this. I like implicit grammar teaching. If I have to go, into form, of course I will, right?
Mhm.
But I think you were like, no, form's so important, and I lead with form, and I'm like, oh, why would you do that? And so it became a really heated discussion about grammar as like
And
kind
the
of
funny thing is,
embarrassing.
like, I definitely don't lead by form. I 100% lead by function. That
Sure.
was my whole point. But I think that the fact that I was so I was like, I love grammar. Like the way you form things
Mhm.
helps you like express things in XYZ ways. So anyway,
Sure.
it was we were very angry at each other.
Mhm.
Just kind of
Mhm.
stormed out of the hot tub at some point and went to bed.
Yeah.
And that was our biggest disagreement.
Yeah. That's like kind of a fun one though. I think the one that I am going to share, if you're okay with it, is not such a fun one. And I
Okay.
think this is really where like the curtain being pulled back on our podcasting comes into play. Okay. Let me see. I wrote down notes, like copious notes, because I want to make sure that we discuss this in a professional way and we're not offending
Okay.
each other.
Mhm.
There was one
Ready.
interview. There was one interview. This was right when we started. And so you had mentioned earlier that you felt like, both of us have been working on our interviewing skills and we've improved so much over the last 5 years. So this was kind of at the earlier start of things. And I remember that there was an interview and I just felt like I couldn't talk. And I think that after the conversation, you know where I'm going with this, I had said, Anna, I kind of feel like I got steamrolled.
I
in
remember those
conversation.
words. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Ooh, and it hurt. It hurt to say it. I
Yeah.
I vaguely remember like the context, but I mostly remember feeling just so nervous to tell you that I felt that way. And I was afraid that it was going to impact our relationship. You were amazing. You took it in stride. You are very good at receiving constructive feedback.
Well, it takes me a minute to process it, but then I'll come back and fix
Yeah,
it.
I mean, maybe you'll like debate me a little. You'll be like, "What do you mean?" But I think I know I'm not a perfect collaborator, and I definitely do take up more space sometimes. So I'm guilty of it too. But that was a really tense moment for us.
I completely forgot. I wish I had brought that one up too, because that was really formative for me. And I think that's something that's come up over and over again. That's not the only time you've called me out on things. But the result has been great because you'll see that there's an issue. You'll address it immediately instead of letting it fester.
Yes,
And that's another
important.
thing I appreciate about you. I've been in a lot of friendships where that was not the case and they ended.
Yes,
right?
Same. Friendships and relationships.
Yes.
I think that not communicating challenging sentiments is what breaks down communication, right?
Right. So yeah, I guess yes. That's a really good example, and I think it just is a testament to how our working relationship has evolved. So
yeah, and you've got to say the hard things sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so thank you for receiving that then and now, and allowing me to bring it to such a public head.
Public forum, air out the dirty laundry. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wonder, Shay, if you don't mind me directing this next, but
Well, thank you for asking.
I think that I think Anya's comment,
Yeah.
how about an expert? Do you consider yourselves experts in any areas? I think that is possibly a good question to continue with. I think it connects to some of the questions that we had kind of been thinking about ahead of time, right? I'm thinking about how we see ourselves as, whether we see ourselves as experts and how we see ourselves professionally more broadly. I can go first. I mean, I see myself, and thank you for all the lovely comments, everyone. Joe loves our transparency, and Joe loves the Love Fest, and Joe loves Shay. Well, he didn't write that in the comments. But
Joe loves Anna too.
Yes. But speaking to Anya's question, I think for me, it's really given me an opportunity to step into a different career, honestly. I now see myself as a media producer, actually. I mean, it's not my job title, but I think I can produce media pretty well. And that kind of combines with my transition into learning and development, learning design. And I think the podcast has actually has really made me an expert in a lot of media production aspects of my full-time role. And so, in my full-time role, I've been able to produce like lecture videos and in addition to just other aspects of learning design and building out online courses and online learning events, but actually making lecture videos and all of those pieces with producing episodes, video episodes, audio episodes from start to finish, like planning interviews, everything. There are just so many skills related to podcasting. So I see myself as a media producer, as an expert in at least podcast media production. Yes. And I'd love to actually, help other podcasters maybe find their voice by helping them figure out that process. Yeah. How about you, Shay?
You'd be lovely at that. Well, that was a fantastic answer. And I don't know that I don't know that I have like a really succinct answer. We talked a little bit earlier about perfectionism, and you mentioned for me earlier that I had, at the tender age of 23, just taken on a director role at a university. I had faculty working with me, and I had over 100 students within the program. And I was fresh out of my master's program. I was just 23 years old, and I didn't feel like I was ready for that, right? I stepped up. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, wow, I did the best, and I did a great job with all of the resources and like the expertise and, experience that I had at the time. But I was really forced to own my power maybe before I felt powerful, right? So it was like that, there's that TED Talk, like fake it until you become it. I did that. But I think starting at such a young age in a role that I didn't feel quite prepared for led to me feeling like an imposter. And that's something that I've carried. I've been teaching now for over 15 years, and I've been working with teachers, since 2017. So it's like that there's always this nagging voice. I'm being very vulnerable right now because I think a lot of people can really relate to this idea of just never feeling like you can meet your sort of these arbitrary standards that you've created for yourself. And I just want to tell people, like, they are standards that you created. Like, you created these expectations in your head, and Anna, I'm talking to you too. Yeah. So, to hold yourself to a high standard is a good thing, but stop moving the goalpost, right? Like, pause and celebrate what you've accomplished along the way. So I think this podcast has changed how I see myself professionally because it's given me more data to actually believe in myself in a way that's that feels important.
You're so amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I could cry. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's amazing. You are amazing. And You really, I mean, we're older now, but you're still intimidating to me.
Oh
So
my God, come on.
you're even though your goalposts have actually gotten higher and higher, you've always met
You're a
your
real
goals.
powerhouse. I feel so fortunate to work with someone who is such a powerhouse, and you inspire me every day. And I have to meet you where you are, like you don't want to podcast with some, deadbeat, right? So I've got to rise to the occasion.
You keep
Yeah.
that standard high, girl.
Well, so speaking of deadbeats, let's talk a little bit about our roles in the podcast. Well, so okay,
Yes.
we've been at this for 5 years. Our roles, our processes have changed a lot during that time. I think that both of us have felt like, maybe not deadbeats, that's a bit extreme, but we've both felt like we haven't pulled our weight at different moments in time. And the other has never felt that the other was not pulling their weight, right? Like that's a disclaimer.
All our own perception. Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about like how our processes have changed a little from inception?
Yeah, sure. Originally, I don't even know how this happened, but I was doing all of the editing originally.
Yes.
And that was, I don't know, I think it was just because I was like, I'm going to brave this new technology, and you're really good at writing. So I think that's how it started. And then we started splitting up episodes because you were like, oh, I'd really like to build that skill. And also just to split up the work, So I remember, we would each produce the whole episode from start to finish, including the social media and everything else. And it was intense. I mean, it worked okay because, the other could get ahead on the next episode while the other person was doing the current one. It was all right.
You would get ahead on the next episode. I am a procrastinator, so I did not get ahead on the episode. So I'm like, the day before we were going to record, I'm still like banging out that script.
Right. Well, so that didn't totally play to our strengths. Let's put it that way.
Right. Very
diplomatic. And then I had a kid.
Yeah.
Everything fell apart.
Oh,
well. But when my son was born, I didn't have time for some of the more in-depth thought that goes into scripting and editing episodes. Editing just takes forever, especially when you're a perfectionist like us who really want to clean it up. We don't want all of the ums. We want some of the ums. Occasional ums. So Shay, you've taken over editing all of the episodes minus a couple of things I filled in, episodes I filled in for, maybe some video episodes before you started to feel more comfortable with that. But, and that's worked so much better for us. I still feel like I'm not pulling my weight.
Oh my God. I there would be no business without you, Anna. Like I'm just like ideas and content, but like you do all the things. Like, we did experiment a lot. There were many different sort of iterations. And I remember when we tried to do like collaborative writing, like both of us would enter and like try to script within like a couple of days, and it just made no sense. So now really it's like, well, I'll write and I'll edit the episode, and Anna, you'll do all of the other stuff. You'll do the socials and the marketing, and you do the business back end. You like filed our taxes, like you do all of the management, and I do content, right? Like, so I kind of think of it as like creative and like business and marketing, like in separate housings now. But you do the social media, so that's creative too. So you do everything. So I don't think you don't pull your weight. I think that's me.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Well, we should probably stop there because neither of us is ever going to agree on who pulls what weight, where, why, and how.
So you brought up, motherhood and how working in bursts is, easier than being able to sit down and edit an episode for, let's be honest, like 5 to 8 hours.
I work in really short, concentrated bursts. Yeah.
But this is also, I work internationally. So I work, out of the country for, could be anywhere from 2 weeks to like 12 weeks at a time, and we've operated on very different time zones. And so because of that, I've been able to do a lot of front loading. So like we can batch out episodes, and that's something that's been working well for us for the last like 2 years. We've been flowing pretty well in that way.
Yeah, I know. We've really figured it out pretty well.
I think so. Well, and I think it speaks to like, if you are thinking of starting a podcast or any other kind of creative endeavor, you really have to figure out how to make it actually fit within the constraints of your life. And it reminds me of, the conversations we have with teachers about professional development, how you have to make it fit within your life that already exists, not the other way around. And I think that we've done that successfully with the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think, Shay, we're way over the time limit we had originally set, especially because we started 20 minutes late because we couldn't figure out the tech. Yes. So I wonder if we want to do a quick this or that instead of the other questions we have, because I feel like that's more fun. And maybe we end on something sweet, but
let's do, we've already done like the love thing, so we can skip that, but like, let's do this or that. And then we can finish off on like what we see for the future of the pod. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay. So now we're just going to like point at ourselves or at each other, right?
Wait, what side are you on?
We'll just point like this or like this.
Me or you. Got it. Yes. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyone who's watching, like, we're not talking about you. Don't worry. So who is more likely to go off script? So let's count to 3. Okay. Don't keep those hands down. So we'll count to 3. So who's more likely to go off script? 1, 2, 3.
Heck yes.
Yeah. And why? Why is that?
Why? I don't know. I think it's honestly because you write most of the scripts, and then I realize in the moment, like, oh wait, I also wanted to say this random thing, and then my brain just says it out loud. Totally. And maybe you cut it out later, but I just
I mostly keep your ideas for sure.
Great.
And I can see that.
Yeah.
I think also because of my anxiety about like flubbing, right? I'm like, oh, let me just stick to the script. Otherwise it's going to get kind of weird. And that does happen. But I agree with you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Ready? Now we're getting into it. Who is, I don't like funniest as a superlative. Who's funnier, right? Because it's just
funnier. We're both funny. We're both
who's
hella funny.
Funnier? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Oh, we agree on that.
Thank you. I do think you are quite comical. Yes.
You got more camp, especially more camp. Yes, which I love.
And you had to write that on a birthday post to me one time. You were like, "We love your camp, Shay." I'm like, "Camp? What do you mean?"
I actually say that?
Did.
I
did.
Okay.
You did.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Okay. Who has the best ideas? 1, 2, 3. I'm so glad you agree with me, but that was a tough one because you have incredible ideas about like scaling and strategy, and that's really important. We have to
and I think like sometimes like details, but then like how are we going to do this? I'll figure out how to do it. But as we said, like you're the one who really brings the creative stuff, and I'm the yes and lady. So
it's a good partnership in that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Who is more likely to say, I love that on an episode?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Both.
It is both. And I've said it multiple times on this live stream.
Yes.
But I do cut out your I love that's. I will say that. You do say it a lot, that I do cut it out.
Because I think it started as you, and then it turned into me.
Oh.
Like, I think you used to be the one who said, I love that.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Or we could bring up our old blooper reel.
Like the old, like the early episodes, which are the ones I was mostly editing, like it was very clearly you, but I have 100% taken on that from you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm leaning into our, our personality, our joined personality here.
Well, you know what I'll say to that?
What?
I love that.
Aww.
I wondered if you got it from people at work.
No, I got it from you. 100% got it from you.
That's fine. I'll take that. All right.
Yeah.
You do the next part here. Introduce.
Oh, okay. Who has the best podcast voice. 1, 2, 3. Me? I don't think so. So our voices are so different. So I couldn't choose on this one because Shay, your voice is so grounded and mine is so resonant. And so I mean, I'd say probably overall you have the best podcast voice, but I think that they have really different reasons that they're good voices.
Yeah, I think your voice is like a very like educational podcast voice.
Okay.
Like I hear other podcasters and I think that yours align nicely with those.
Okay.
I feel like mine is like it's sultry, and I don't know that that's always appropriate for podcasting, depending on like what you're looking for, I guess. But okay, I like this. Okay.
Yeah. And so then who takes longer to edit an episode? 1, 2, 3. Yes.
No. Hours and hours, like 12 hours when I first started. It was insane.
Yeah.
We love you, listeners. That's why we do it.
Yeah. And who fumbles the most during recordings? And I mean, not so much the interview recordings, although maybe those two, but the commentary where we're scripted, like who actually fumbles when we're trying to read a script. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Well, I was going to point at myself. So. Yeah. I think just my moderating webinars thing has helped me like read off a script and sound natural. So. Yeah. Well, let's wrap up really quickly. Yeah. And first I'm going to put Anya's sweet comment on there. Thank you so much for that lovely comment, Anya. Thank you. We do lift each other up and challenge each other. And yes, thank you so much for being here. Let's just finish with what do we admire most about each other? Let's finish on Ludfest. Does that sound good?
Well, I was going to say, let's do like, what do you want to see in the next 5 years?
Okay, let's do that. Let's do what do we want to see in the next 5 years, but super rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I would like for us to book more professional development facilitation and do more consulting work for organizations. I'd like for us to get more partnerships and sponsors. If you're out there, let's pay us to do this. We want to keep serving our community of international listeners. So that's my goal.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same list. Keep expanding our growing community of listeners, get more audience engagement, make the podcast sustainable. We need more sponsors is what I mean by that. And build out that consulting side of the podcast. And like maybe some kind of publication or a course. I don't know if we're there yet, but I definitely the one-off workshops and supporting longer term professional development initiatives for teaching departments and organizations.
Love it. Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you so much. That was fun, albeit a little stressful at the start. We're really happy to celebrate this milestone, and having people watching and interacting with us has made it even sweeter. If we missed any of this, we are going to upload this to YouTube after the conversation. And we think maybe this live, once we figure it out, I think will be the start of something special for us.
We'll see. This is stressful, man.
Well, but maybe in a different way. So just look out for some fun news this summer. That's all I'll say there.
Yeah. And if you're not already subscribed, I don't know why I'm saying this, because everyone I've seen comment here is clearly subscribed. But
hi, Andrea.
Please go subscribe to our podcast. And we are wherever you listen to podcasts. So YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. And if you've been listening for a while, the single best thing you can do for us is share an episode with a colleague, invite them to subscribe. That's how teachers find us. It's through word of mouth. And that's how this community keeps growing. So yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for 5 incredible years. Thank you, Anna, for your time and your expertise. And we're not done reflecting together. It's really just the beginning. We hope you'll keep joining us. Until next time, friends, happy teaching.
and happy reflecting. Happy reflecting. I can't even
there's
say
that flub. That was
happy
perfect.
reflecting. All right, perfect.
Bye, my friends.
Everybody.
Love you. Bye, everyone.